Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final episode of the Mental Hygiene Show. I am Sachi Arora, your host for today, and a campaign ambassador with the hashtag Mental Hygiene Monday campaign, an initiative by Mental Hygiene Monday and powered by ArtCQ. Today we are going to talk about indulging in self-compassion through art therapy, and it gives me great honor to invite our guest for today, Ms Aleena Ali. Alina ma'am is an expressive arts therapist with the Department of Mental Health and Behavioral Sciences, Fortis Healthcare. She's completed her bachelor's and master's degree in psychology, and she holds a UNESCO CID certificate degree in expressive arts. She works extensively with children and adults in the field of psychotherapy and psychosocial core using art therapy. It's a pleasure to have you here, ma'am.
Hello, Sachi. Thank you so much.
So, ma'am, without any further ado, should we start with the session?
Yes,
So, ma'am,
we shall.
as we start, would you like to share your views about self-compassion and how we can practice self-compassion in our day-to-day life?
Okay. Yes, I will be more than honored to share my views. First of all, a very good evening to everyone. As mentioned by Sachi, I work with Fortis Hospital. I am an expressive arts therapist. I'm a psychologist and I work in the field of expressive arts therapy, which is a very interesting field, and we're going to get a little bit of a glimpse in today's session, hopefully towards the end. Uh, when we look at self-compassion, I think the term is very descriptive in its own sense. I think even if we don't look at it from a mental health perspective, the word self-compassion it can be easily understood by anyone, right? It basically means showing the same level of kindness, consideration, sensitivity towards your own self that you would either expect from others or would display to your loved ones. So, in a very basic sense, that is how I view self-compassion. I also, however, think that there is a lot of talk around self-care and appreciative gestures and self-compassion and kindness. But when we actually look at the behavior that we adapt to sort of be to display that compassion towards us, it kind of gets limited to having a cup of coffee or buying your favorite dress or playing your favorite sport or buying your favorite video game. And I think it kind of just gets constricted to rewarding yourself without actually looking into the implications of what self-compassion actually does and how, when one is kind towards their own feelings and emotions, can it actually benefit you, of course, psychologically and sometimes also, with physical health. So that's how I broadly view self-compassion. Of course, there's a fair bit of research done in the field of self-compassion when we look at the mental health element of it, and broad characteristics also which come out of this research that was done by this psychology professor at Texas University was number one, self-kindness. It was the basic sense of humanity versus isolation. Which basically means, individuals accepting the fact that sometimes self-depreciative thoughts come to all of us, right? And to one and all alike. It happens to children, boys, girls, adults, older adults, teenagers, everyone. It's only natural for you to sometimes feel bad and sad about a failure or a disappointing experience. And of course, the way you view that and the way you take steps to then follow up with that experience depends on your level of self-compassion that you have and that you display. Another characteristic is being aware, being mindful of your own shortcomings, of your own experiences, versus being overtly critical or judgmental or indulging in, over-identification with your flaws or with the mistakes that you've made. So there's a fair balance that one needs to strike when we're also talking about self-awareness and being compassionate versus being judgmental towards your own self. So that's yes, a little bit of the research theory talk, where I'll come back to more practical examples.
Everything that you mentioned is, I think, probably all the difficulties that people have been facing these days. and they've been unable to figure out what they can do. So, if I'm not wrong, anything that acts therapeutic, anything that we do for ourselves, be it cooking in free time, be it drawing, painting, singing, listening to good music, reading books, is a part of self-compassion.
So, see how I'd like to view self-compassion and also how we measure self-compassion. There's a 26 point something scale, I think, self-compassionate scale on which we measure the level of self-compassion. Also, as I said, there are basic characteristics which are there, which involve, of course, practical examples are the things that you mentioned, and could be more for different people. But looking at the behaviors that we can adapt, or the emotions that we display to oneself, it involves, as I already mentioned, it involves self-awareness over self-judgment and over identification. It involves kindness towards oneself. It involves being mindful with yourself, with your thoughts about your actions, about your mistakes, your limitations. Also finding a strategic, finding a healthy, a productive way to come around. A lot of times we look at self-compassion, and I'd like to actually, I'll draw it and show it to you. So another word which is quite similar to self-compassion could also be self-awareness, and could also be self-forgiveness, which could mean similar things but are not entirely the same. So can we see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Pardon my drawing, it's not very great. So self-compassion and self-forgiveness can be similar concepts when it comes to being kind to oneself, but they're not entirely the same. While self-forgiveness comes with the fact that there's been a mistake, or there's been a certain sense of disappointment in oneself, and there is an experience that makes you feel slightly low and not so good about yourself, brings in low motivation towards things, and your self concepts and your self esteem. Being able to forgive yourself for that experience comes under self forgiveness. Self compassion, however, is a broader term. It of course encompasses forgiveness and kindness and all the other things that we spoke about, but beyond that, it also looks at not just acknowledging and accepting the flaws and the limitations, but also then, as I said, finding productive measures to work around that. So again, to be very simple about the concept, the idea, it's displaying the same kind of behavior to yourself that you would probably give to a loved one. So say your best friend, or your mom, or your dad, or your brother or sister, we're going through a difficult situation, and we're going through, an overly critical phase about themselves. You would never turn around and tell them that, yes, this is a big mistake, and it's all your fault, and you can never change it, or you can never work on this. You wouldn't. You would tell them it's okay. You would tell them not to take things personally. You would tell them to find a way to work around this, to be better next time. And these are usually the kind of things we tell to the people we care about. It's a similar kind of an idea that you need to have within your own, for your own self as well. So, yeah, I hope that
Thank
answered
you so much. That was a very detailed explanation, and I'm sure must have given a very clear idea to our viewers. So, ma'am, moving forward, what in your experience are the difficulties faced by people in practicing self-compassion?
So, I think the main reason that individuals are unable to practice self-compassion is the lack of understanding. As I said, there are concepts, there are conversation talks about self-compassion. We routinely discuss them, but when it comes to actually practicing these things with oneself, we're either clueless, or we go on a different tangent of, as I said, only indulging in shopping or hobbies, or watching shows that we like, or talking to our friends about things, and then it limits itself to just that. So one is, of course, the lack of understanding, which also could stem from ignorance or lack of conversations around this particular topic. Another reason that I could understand is the judgment that comes with it. A lot of people might perceive self-compassion and self-love as being selfish, which again isn't necessarily true. There is a very fine line in choosing to do things at the expense of hurting or upsetting other people, and being as nice to yourselves as you would probably be to a loved one, a family member, or a friend. And that is what self-compassion is. So that understanding also needs to be there, about realizing that it's not about choosing yourself over everything else, or all those big fancy statements that we usually see on social media with highlighted quotations and displayed backgrounds. But it also needs to come from an understanding that you're a person just like the others around you, and sometimes it's only human to make mistakes and learn from them. So your approach to, as I said, your mistakes plays a major role here.
Thank you. So, yeah, as you said that we are only human, and humans, we commit mistakes. We do things that sometimes we tend to disappoint ourselves, but we can be a little easy on ourselves, and we can understand and indulge into conversations that lead to better understanding of self-compassion and practicing it in our day-to-day lifestyle. Thank you, ma'am.
Also, I think to a large degree, it needs to come with individuals accepting the flaws. It's with the kind of people who practice the all or nothing ideology, it becomes very difficult for them to, one, understand that there's been a mistake, and two, to work around that mistake. So indulging in behaviors, where you are typically having the black and white thinking, or over identification with one's flaws and the way one is, or indulging in perfectionism, where you absolutely leave no scope for human error. These can be certain challenges, that people face when it comes to building a sense of self-compassion for your own self.
Ma'am, as our topic suggests, indulging in self-compassion through art therapy. So, in my personal experience, what I have seen is that not many people are aware of art therapy and its significance and its role as a therapy in our life. So, would you like to define art therapy for our viewers?
Of course, I would love to. So art therapy is different from expressive arts therapy, which I practice, which is my designation. So I'm an expressive arts therapist, which basically means that I'm a psychologist, and I make use of various art mediums, various art forms in what we call an intermodal approach. That means a combination of various art mediums, both performance and visual arts, including coloring, painting, sketching, drawing, to using music for well-being, to movement that's typically called dance therapy, using poetry, creative writing, narrative approaches, storytelling, and various other mediums that would entail under the broad category of art. And using that medium, using the understanding the therapeutic benefits of art making, and being able to use that for your benefit and maintain your health and well-being. That is basically what art therapy is. What it is not is also something that I'd like to quickly speak about, because a lot of people build misconceptions. It's not artwork and art making and making it look pretty. It's not drawing something and analyzing it or interpreting it. There are various schools of thought, of course, in psychology and even in therapeutic practice, where certain kind of people might look at a particular artwork to understand, certain meanings and symbols, but that's not all. And it's not building skills. So it's not about being a good painter, being a good dancer, being a good singer, or being a music student or a poet. So when I say creative writing, when I say creative movement, when I say music, it's not about being a good singer or being a good artist.
Thank you, ma'am. As important as it was for our viewers to know what expressive arts therapy is, it was equally important for them to know what it is not, just to clear the clouds of misconception. So, ma'am, would you like to give us a certain small activity to our viewers? Demonstrate a small activity.
Yes, of course. So what I'd like to do with over here is, because I wanted to link art therapy here with self-compassion. So when we look at art therapy, there are various benefits that are there for, of course, individuals dealing with particular kind of ailments, which are vast. And of course, with individuals not dealing with, say, a particular ailment also, but just in general to bring in a sense of mindfulness and sense of self-awareness, and being able to manage sometimes your emotions very well, which I feel comes out beautifully and quite creatively through artwork. So because we're talking about self-compassion, and we spoke at length about how one needs to be aware about your own emotions, one needs to be sensitive. I feel like that sensitivity, that understanding comes from a sense of acknowledgement of your own emotions. A lot of times we might focus or project our energy only onto the behavior we are displaying. So say, for example, a person's having a bad day, and they're being very snappy towards a person, and they're not able to focus on work, and they are making mistakes and then getting yelled at, and then they kind of getting stuck in that loop of just having a terrible day. We tend to quite often focus on the behaviors or the experiences that we had, which made us which were probably a consequence of your emotion that you were feeling. And that lack of awareness could lead to a counterproductive solution. So we might end up overcompensating to the relationships or the friends around whom we yelled at. We might end up working long hours because we feel like we're not able to focus and the work needs to be done. We might be overly critical and cancel out on the me time or our self time that we probably would have kept, or the break that we would have for ourselves, which, as I said, could just be counterproductive. So instead, if we focus on the emotions and try to understand what is it actually that led to this particular kind of behavior, was it because I did not get a good night's sleep? Was it because I've been having a fight with a friend or a family member, and that's something that's been playing on my mind? Was it just because I woke up today, and because I'm a human, I can have a range of emotions, and I didn't feel physically very good, which is making me feel psychologically not so great, and that's the reason I'm having not such a productive day? That understanding is what I feel art really helps us build. So to sort of facilitate the example that I have, I want us to indulge in a very small art activity, which is actually what we'd like to call an emotional pie chart. Right. So if you could show me the art sheet that we have.
Yes,
Okay. No, I mean, just like you have it. You didn't have to show that to me.
yeah.
Let's draw a huge circle on our sheet. Like a big circle. And it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. Right? So something like this.
Okay. Not so visible. I'll use a darker pencil.
That's okay. That's not a problem. Now, Sachi, what I would like you to do is take a minute to have a reflection of the past 1 week that you've had. So it's Monday today. Let's go back to last week, Monday. Doesn't have to be something concrete. Just think about the past week and the respective days that you've had, and the kind of moods you've had, and the emotions that you felt, and try and gather your thoughts around some basic centric emotions that you feel you might have felt throughout the week. So anger, excitement, happiness, surprised, bored, sleepy, hungry, tired, even though not essential emotions, but fill that in if that's something that you feel like had an impact largely on your day or your week. Pick up these few basic emotions that you feel you might have felt in the past 1 week, and then we are going to try and put them down in our circle and make a pie chart. So how a regular pie chart has different segments, right, representing different data, here this pie chart is going to represent our emotions segregated by segments which will vary in size depending upon how much we have felt an emotion. So for example, say I felt 3 emotions in the past 1 week, and this is something I can, so if I have to name emotions from the top of my head, I can say I have felt stressed, I have felt tired, and I have felt excited, right? So if say tired is, even though not an emotion, if this is something I have largely been feeling more than the other 2, I'm going to make it as a big segment in my pie chart. versus excitement, which is at the mid level. So that's there, versus stress, which is at the minimal level, but I know it was there. So that's going to be the smallest segment, right? Now, I'm not going to give you a number, but come up with 3, 4, 5, 6, even 10 if you like, emotions that you can think of. And let's try and draw segments according to how much we felt them in our sheet. Right?
Okay. Yes.
If it helps you, what I've also done here is how we demonstrate, small boxes for segments. I've also kind of made boxes here depicting different emotions. So if you think that helps, you can do that. There isn't like a rule that you need to follow when you're indulging in artwork, because part of the process that helps you get that relaxation, that sense of calmness when you're indulging in artwork is how pleasurable it is how relaxing it is. So there's no rush that you need to have, or it's not supposed to look like a certain something when you're creating art. So that's not what creative arts is about.
So, ma'am, can I make stars and circles and small rectangles in the pieces of the pie?
Yes, of course. You can choose to use different colors to represent different emotions. You can, as you can see, I have drawn different patterns here.
I'll use colors.
Yeah, you can either use colors, you can draw patterns. Some people also like using symbols. So if, say, it was very affectionate that they felt, so they can draw stars, because that's just a symbol that they associate with that feeling. And if it's angry that they felt, then they can just draw a lightning bolting symbol, because that's how they associate. Now, while art therapy has various benefits, as I said, towards maintaining your mental health and your well-being, this is just an aspect that we are taking which resonates with what our theme for today is that was self-compassion, and because another key component is acknowledgement of oneself and the both limitations and strengths, apart from acknowledging your emotions and various characteristics that you feel you possess. So because that awareness is something that can be enabled through artwork is why I chose to use this particular activity.
Ma'am, to be very honest, I'm indulging in something of this kind for the first time, and I have to admit I'm enjoying it.
Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Which of course is the reason, as I said, when we look at the therapeutic benefits of art therapy in line with various mental health ailments, then it's a separate matter altogether. Then artwork is more goal directed in terms of the individual, in terms of the problem, in terms of the interventional mode that we're looking at. But when we look at creative arts therapy for maintaining well-being, that both you and I, who might be going through, yes, certain amount of stress, but aren't exactly falling under, and say an ailment or the realm of seeking professional help, if I may say. So even if we're just experiencing routine stress that everyone feels on a day-to-day basis, and even if you're not feeling stress, even if it's just a matter of us spending some time of relaxation with ourselves, it's something that in the process in itself is very soothing, it's very calming, which is why I say artwork is not just for children. That is one more misconception that people hold. It's for everyone.
Ma'am, so would you like to give our viewers some message?
Okay, of course. Are you through with your artwork?
Yes,
we're
ma'am, I'm
almost
almost
at the
done.
end of the session. Great.
Yes, I'm almost done.
Okay, so I'm also almost done. So yes, I think in conclusion, all I'd like to say is that compassion in general is a value that I think one could look at practicing and understanding a little more. And self-compassion is again not something that one should look at with regard to just spending time with oneself because we want to fix a problem. I think self-compassion is an umbrella term for, say, even self-love for that matter. It helps build one's awareness and understanding about oneself, which helps you regulate your behavior, regulate your emotions. It helps you to build problem solving approaches, because you look at the problem not just with one perspective, but build a certain perspective around it. I think which also comes to play when we look at, as I said, the characteristics underlying self-compassion, one of them being to not indulge in isolation versus realizing the aspect of basic humanity that's there. That struggle is a part of everyone's day-to-day life, and it's not you making a mistake at your job or you having a failed relationship is not a mark on your individual being, right? It is something everyone goes through, and it's only fair for you to be as passionate, as kind to your own self as you would be to anybody else, right? And art is a great way to do this. It's a great way to understand your own emotions. It's a great way to regulate and work on your own emotions. It's also a great way to indulge in your self-care that people talk about routinely, which that's my drawing. So that's the emotions that I have felt broadly depicted here. Oh wow.
I've used different colors.
Different colors. Yes, of course. So then again, I will leave you with your artwork, Sachi. The idea here is for you to look at it, have an understanding of, okay, this is what the last week was about. This is primarily what I felt. If you want, look at the segments or the emotions that you would like to enlarge or increase. You could also look at certain emotions that you feel were too much. So the segment needs to be slightly smaller. So of course, then we could find ways to work on that. But the first step comes from acknowledgement.
Yes, ma'am, that's true. Now, after looking at my pie chart, I would like the highest is the green one, that is energetic and productive. Because personally, my last week was really energetic and productive in terms of things. I mean, I realized that, okay, I need to indulge in more and more activities and focus on self growth, both physically and mentally. So, yeah, that was that. And I would like to reduce the pie of anger and increase the one of happiness and hunger.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. So, yes, I think this was just a snippet of what art therapy does for you, but it's great to see that, so organically you were out there trying to tell, look, this is the emotion I want to reduce, this is the emotion I want to increase. And of course, then I feel like once you've reached that step, to take the next step towards working, in that direction comes a little easy.
Thank you so much, ma'am. The session and this activity in particular, I'm sure must have been very insightful for our viewers. I'm sure they must have enjoyed it a lot, and I'm sure when they do it, they'll definitely go back to you and say that how helpful it was for them to indulge in this activity. And I really personally wish this session would have lasted even longer so that we could get to spend more time with you and indulge in more activities, because it was really fun. So thank you so much, ma'am, for being a part of our session and giving such interesting insights.
Thank you so much. It's absolutely my pleasure. And I can always come back with another session for the viewers, for all of you guys, because it's informative, it's beneficial. And as many people who would like to know about art therapy, I'd like to spread the word. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am, that's really amazing. Thank you so much, ma'am. So with this, we come to an end of the Mental Hygiene Show. If you have missed any of our previous live sessions and episodes, you can go and check it out on our channel. For more such interesting episodes and activities and sessions, you can subscribe to our channel, The Art Secure. Press the bell icon for interesting updates. And also, you can share your feedback through in the comments below. And I would like to thank our lovely viewers for being a part of our sessions. And a bigger thank you to all our guest speakers for being a part of our session and giving us such interesting insights and spreading the word of mental health and putting light on those issues that are, I think, should be given more emphasis in today's era, especially in times like these. So thank you so much. Thank you, Aleena ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.